Hello, greetings for the day. I'm Indresh Devatia from BPSG Meerut Road, and I'm going to cover a new poem with you today. And the name of this poem is The Duck and the Kangaroo, which is there in your beehive of class 9th. The poet of the same poem is Edward Lear. Now let us go through the learning objective for the day. To understand the genre of nonsense verse and meaning of the given poem. So what is genre? Genre is basically the underlying theme around which the main idea revolves in a piece of poetry or in a piece of prose. Let us talk about a literary device which is onomatopoeia. Now, onomatopoeia is the formation of a word from a sound associated with what is named. For example, you hear a word quack, or let's say buzz, or chirping of birds. So these very words which have been mentioned here, and some of the words you will be also finding them in the poem which we are going to cover today, they are also called onomatopoeia, and it is one of the major literary devices which is applied in various good pieces of poetry. Now let us go through the poem. So as you can see, here it is also mentioned that this is a humorous poem of a kind known as nonsense verse by Edward Lear. Read it and enjoy. So nonsense verse is basically talking about the rhythm and rhyme, and there is not much of depth in these kind of poetry. So let us just read it and enjoy. Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, how you hop over the fields and the water too, as if you never would stop. My life is a bore in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. I wish I could hop like you," said the duck to the kangaroo. So this is the first stanza. Second, "Please give me a ride on your back," said the duck to the kangaroo. "I would sit quite still and say nothing but quack the whole of the long day through, and we'd go to the Dee and the Jelly Bow Lee, over the land and over the sea. Please take me a ride, oh do," said the duck to the kangaroo. Now just observe the rhyming pattern here. Let us read the stanza 3. Said the kangaroo to the duck, "This requires some little reflection. Perhaps on the whole it might bring me luck, and there seems but one objection, which is, if you'll let me speak so bold, your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and would probably give me the rheumatis." Rheumatis, we'll talk about this word in details, said the kangaroo. Said the duck, "As I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks, which fit my web feet neatly, and to keep out the cold I've bought a cloak, and every day a cigar I'll smoke, all to follow my own dear true love of a kangaroo." Said the kangaroo, "I am ready, all in the moonlight pale, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady, and quiet at the end of my tail." So away they went with a hop and a bound, and they hopped the whole world 3 times round. And who so happy, oh who, as the duck and the kangaroo. And with this stanza, the poem ends. Now, as you can easily make out, that the poet here, poet Lear, has actually depicted a conversation between a kangaroo and a duck, which sounds nonsense in itself. But not only this, the rhyming pattern and that there is limited depth in the poetry depicts that it is an example of nonsense verse, where the focus is entirely on the rhyme and the rhythm, and there is no depth in the poetry. And also it is depicting a very far-fetched idea of a conversation between a kangaroo and a duck. So let us see what's there in the poem. Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, how you hop." Now duck is telling the kangaroo that I just love the way you hop, the way you move. jumping here and there, over the fields and the water too, as if you would never stop. My life is a bore in this nasty pond. Now duck is complaining about its own life in the pond which is being shared. My life is a bore in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. So duck wants to get out of the limits. Duck is currently in the water, and by looking at the kangaroo, it is also feeling as if it wants to travel the world. I wish I could hop like you. Now the duck is using strong feelings here. The duck is feeling, and the duck wishes that even he could hop like kangaroo. It would have been fantastic for him. Said the duck to the kangaroo. So the first stanza is addressed to the kangaroo and has been said by the duck. Its wish that it also wants to go out like the kangaroo. Please give me a ride on your back. Now there's a request, earnest request which has been made by the duck, and it wants to ride on the back of the kangaroo. How exciting would that be? Said the duck to the kangaroo, I will sit quite still and say nothing but quack. You remember? We were talking about onomatopoeia just a few slides ago. So this would be an example of a literary device called onomatopoeia, because quack signifies the sound of the duck. I will sit quite still and say nothing but quack. Now duck is also suggesting that he won't actually bother the kangaroo, but would sit quiet the whole of the long day through. And we'd go to the Dee and the Jelly Bowly. So these are the names of the fictitious places where they wish to go. Over the land and over the sea, please take me a ride, oh do, said the duck to the kangaroo. Now observe how oh do and kangaroo have been rhymed. So they want to go over the land and over the sea. So this is basically the wish of duck. Now finally the kangaroo would speak and reply to the request which has been made by the duck. Said the kangaroo to the duck, this requires some little reflection. Now kangaroo actually wants some time before deciding this difficult thing. Perhaps on the whole it might bring me luck. And there seems but one objection. So there is only one objection, there is only one problem. Otherwise I'm fine with it. I'll give you a ride, not a problem. Let's find out what the objection is. Which is, if you let me speak so bold, your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold. Because the duck always remains in the water, that is why the kangaroo is complaining of the wet and cold feet of the duck, which might be a problem for the kangaroo. Now this is the only one objection which the kangaroo has. And would probably give me the rheumatis, said the kangaroo. Now rheumatis has been molded. Actually it talks about rheumatism. I'll spell it for you. R-H-E-U-M-A-T-I-S-M. So it is rheumatism, which is related with the diseases like and disorders like arthritis, when someone feels the pain in the joints. So duck's feet are so cold that the kangaroo is suggesting, if you sit on me with those wet and cold feet, I might even have rheumatism. So again, it is also giving an example of how nonsense verse can take you through various things. Said the kangaroo. Let's go to the fourth stanza now. Said the duck. Now the duck replies to this query, to this objection which has been put forth by kangaroo. Said the duck, as I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely. Now duck is very clever. Duck is saying that I've already thought about this and it won't be a problem. Let us see what is the solution which the duck is offering to the kangaroo. I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks which fit my web feet neatly. Worsted socks, a kind of socks which would actually cover the entire feet of the duck, and the kangaroo would not have any problem with the wet or the cold feet of the duck. So duck is clever and it's ready beforehand. And to keep out the cold, I have bought a cloak. Cloak is a piece of cloth which is used in the winters to shield the body. And every day a cigar I'll smoke. Now this is again one of the most nonsense pieces of example where he says that and every day a cigar I'll smoke. Have you ever heard of a duck who smokes a cigar? But the poet thinks so. All to follow my own dear true love of a kangaroo. Now duck is actually generating his feelings and confessing his love for the kangaroo. All for that one ride, because he wants to ride the kangaroo. Said the kangaroo. Now the kangaroo replies, I'm ready. Now kangaroo has no objection at all, and now he's ready to give him a perfect ride. Said the kangaroo, I'm ready, all in the moonlight pale, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady. Now kangaroo is actually making a request. You know, I'm ready, everything is ready, everything is fine, but just a few precautions you have to take care of. And what are they? Let us read. But to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady. You need to sit steady and quiet at the end of my tail. So what has the kangaroo suggested? As you can see it in the picture, that you need to sit at the end of my tail so that I can maintain a proper balance, and quiet at the end of my tail. So away they went with a hop and a bound, and the duck with those socks covering his feet, webbed feet, is sitting at the end of the tail, and now the kangaroo is ready for the ride. So away they went with a hop and a bound. So the kangaroo is now jumping, leaping bounds, and they hopped the whole world 3 times round. The whole world. It is exaggeration. Exaggeration when you actually talk about a point in a vast, huge manner. Because it's fairly impossible for a kangaroo to hop around the world thrice. And who so happy? Oh, who? As the duck and the kangaroo. And both of them, they went happy. So they hopped and they bound the leaves, and finally both of them are very happy. So nothing and no one could be happier than them. So this is all for the day. Thank you.